Throughout this training, or at any time you need support, there are many ways to contact us. You can follow us on all major social media platforms or email us directly via our website, or you can click the Cancel Connect icon shown at the bottom of this slide on our website to book a consultation with one of our experts. A detailed process map, or a flowchart, is a graphical diagram that represents a workflow or a process. The basic shapes that are used in a detailed process map are the oval, or the circle, used to indicate the starting and ending points. The square or rectangle indicates a step or a task. The diamond is a decision point or an alternate path, and the arrows show the flow of the work.
The purpose of creating a detailed map is for the team to understand how the process is actually working. This might be very different than the training procedures or how we think it works. Additionally, in most cases, different locations or shifts or individuals might be doing the process very differently. And these differences can be very important clues to the problem. There are many different flowchart symbols that have specific meanings. However, the basic shapes for task, decision, and the arrows for the flow are the most important. In your workbooks is an example of many different shapes and their meanings.
Let's do a simple example of how we might start to create a detailed map. If we're looking at the coffee team, let's start by identifying the high-level step that we're focused on. So here, we're looking at the part of the process with the coffee maker. On a high-level map like a SIPOC or a value stream map, this is a process step. But when we drill down, we'll see that there are several steps that comprise this one high-level step.
The first thing that we need to do is to establish the starting and ending points of the sub-process. The team, plus a few people who work in the process, always remember that, start to pull the details together by identifying that the first task is to collect the beans that have just been ground from the coffee grinder. Notice here that the way that we write the tasks is in verb plus noun format. Very clear, distinct steps here. And this sub-process ends when the on button is pressed.
So now we can start to fill in the steps in between. Add coffee grounds to the receptacle, check the heat setting, and then we hit a decision point. If the heat setting is set to level 8, the correct level, we can move on to press on. Otherwise, if the heat setting is not set to 8, then we have the extra step of setting the heat level to 8 and then going to press on. And lastly, we add our arrows to show the flow of the work. In real life, a process map starts with the team typically using a whiteboard, flip charts, or brown paper, and a whole bunch of stickies. They'll start out at a more detailed level than the SIPOC, and then they'll continue drilling into more and more detail, exposing what's actually occurring in the process. The reason that we use stickies is that the process map grows and evolves as the team gains a deeper and deeper understanding of the process reality.
I just want to say 3M, you guys owe us a lot of money, mate. We've used a lot of stickies so far and we'll continue to use them. As the team gets into more levels of detail, they might need to get help from people who work in different areas of the process to understand all the various intricacies of the process. They don't necessarily have to get into great levels of detail if it's in an area that does not seem to be contributing to the problem. However, when they have discovered potential root causes, they'll need to get into as much detail as possible to understand that root cause. As the map gets filled out, the team invites others to review what they have captured to ensure that it's complete and accurate and to gather input and clarity from all different process participants. As people from different groups come into the conversation, they gain greater understanding of what the current scenario is and begin to generate ideas for solutions. That's where our parking lot becomes a really useful tool again. In this particular map, we use different colored stickies to indicate which department was doing the task. This is a great way to visualize the handoffs during the process.
One concept that can be a little tricky to understand is how to best utilize the decision points, the diamond shapes in our process. The simplest type of decision is one with only two possible outcomes, such as yes or no. In our example here, you'll see that the decision is written as a question, and the question is it over 10,000? If yes, the steps in the process are different than if the answer is no. Or it might get a little more complex. Let's say that there are two decision points. Is it over 10,000? If no, then is it over 25,000? And we'd follow the different procedures for these different scenarios.
Sometimes, and this happens a lot, each person does a process a little bit differently. This can be captured using the decision points like we show it here. Is Jason the rep? If yes, here are the process steps that he follows. If no, is it Amy? Here are the process steps that Amy takes, etc. Now sometimes there is so much variation in a part of the process that it's really not worth documenting it in detail. In these cases, you can show it on your map with a sticky that says huge variation and let's go fix it, and highlight it as an opportunity for improvement. Capture variations with decision points on alternate paths. Reducing defects and variations are core concepts of Six Sigma.
So just like with our SciPocs, the detailed process map typically starts out in raw form with our paper and stickies, and you also have the option of documenting the map formally using diagramming software. Visio is a popular option, and Excel even has a flowchart add-in. Regardless of the app that you have access to, the important thing is to focus on the quality of the content of the map and not how impressive the flowchart looks. During this phase of the project, we're focused on analyzing root causes, and our findings don't need to be formalized in a pretty chart. That said, you may want to take the raw chart and document it using flowcharting software, but that's a choice and not a necessity. Once we've created a new way of working in the improve phase, we'll want to formally document the new process for training and monitoring, but that's getting a little ahead of ourselves at this point. For now, we're focused on finding all those ugly and complicated parts of the process that are causing our problems.
When we are working with a process that has significant handoffs or multiple people or groups doing different tasks, we might want to illustrate that on the map. A handoff is when one person or department completes their task and then moves it to the next person or department. Handoffs are a great place to look for delays and problems. A cross-functional map places the flowchart symbol in columns or rows to show who is doing the work. For example, on this map, we can drop these lines right in to show the tasks that the consumer or the customer, the front office executive, and the technician are performing. A cross-functional map can be vertically or horizontally oriented. As we noted, an alternative to the cross-functional map is making use of different colors to indicate roles. Just a few options depending on your specific scenario.
And here's an example of one of our team's whiteboards as they began to build their cross-functional map with sticky notes. As you can see here, at this point, they're still at a high level, which we can see because the process looks nice and clean. There are no decision points in there yet, and we don't see any backwards flow, which almost always is in there somewhere. But the more they talk through each step, the more these details will emerge and the map will start to really take shape.
A cross-functional map or a deployment map is also referred to as a swim lane map because the lanes for the different functions resemble swim lanes. A swim lane diagram is a type of flowchart that delineates who does what in a process. Using the metaphor of lanes in a pool, a swim lane diagram provides clarity and accountability by placing process steps within the horizontal or vertical swim lanes of a particular employee, work group, or department. This is also where the saying, stay in your lane comes from. It shows connections, communication, and handoffs between these lanes, and it can serve to highlight waste, redundancy, and inefficiencies in a process.
In this simple example here, you can see that there are a few back and forths between the sales department in the blue lane and the credit department in the yellow. We should aim to have as few backwards handoffs as possible, as that usually indicates a problem. For example, if a form is passed on to the next department and is missing information, it will likely have to go back up to that function for correction and then back through the process. So the cross-functional or swim lane map can be very helpful to identify those problematic handoffs.
There are many ways to create detailed process maps. In our 1-point lesson, there are the basic instructions and tips to create a detailed process map with a SIPOC as the starting point. Remember, detailed maps get messy, and then they get even messier, so don't freak out until the team has a complete picture of the areas that they needed to examine in detail.
The other type of detailed map that we covered is the swim lane map. It's got a few unique characteristics, so it gets its own 1-point lesson. The swim lane map is great when multiple departments or functions are involved, and especially if we want to see handoffs and gaps or problems between steps.
It has been our sincere pleasure being with you through this part of the training, and we thank you for your dedication to creating a better workplace and an environment that you can truly enjoy.